Today we are going to learn a little bit more about Australia Day. We're going to try and understand why we celebrate it, what actually happened on the 26th of January, and how different groups within our society experience this day. But first, let's pause this video and do this quick activity. For those who are wondering why we celebrate Australia Day, here are some important events that have occurred on the 26th of January that contribute to why we celebrate Australia Day. The 26th of January is considered the first national day of Australia. This is because in 1788 the First Fleet arrived in Botany Bay on the 26th of January. The First Fleet consisted of 11 convict ships from Britain. The First Fleet was under the command of an important British captain called Captain Arthur Phillip. And on this day, Captain Arthur Phillip raised the British flag to signal the beginning of the British colony. Various names have been used for this day, for example, Anniversary Day, First Landing Day, and Foundation Day. It wasn't until 1935 that the day officially became known as Australia Day, and in 1994 it became a national public holiday. Since then, over half of our population celebrates this day to reflect on what it means to be Australian, how lucky we are to live in such a beautiful country, and to celebrate the freedoms we have here. On Australia Day, very important ceremonies take place for people who are requesting to become an Australian citizen. Applicants who have been granted citizenship receive their official certificate at this ceremony, and from this day are now considered official Australian citizens. This can be very exciting for those people as they can now call Australia home. Many exciting things take place on Australia Day, like family barbecues and pool parties to name a few. Australia Day has been considered a very important celebration for our country for many years, and I'm sure many of you have celebrated this day with your family and friends. However, in recent times there has been a push to change the date of Australia Day, as not all people within our society share this positive experience or hold positive memories for the 26th of January. Let's look at this from a different perspective.
What is Australia Day?
Don't you mean Invasion Day?
Celebrating the day that your people got slaughtered and invaded, and the day that caused all that destruction and all that suffering to very peaceful people.
For a lot of Aboriginal people and Torres Strait Islanders, it's a day of mourning.
It's the day that marks the beginning of the massacre.
I feel that celebrating Australia Day on the 26th of January is wrong.
The trauma experienced by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people from colonisation has been passed down through generations, and many Indigenous Australians today still feel the negative impacts of the 26th of January. When the British fleets arrived in Australia, this was the beginning of what was known as the Frontier Wars, which lasted around 140 years. Many Indigenous Australians were killed by the British, families were torn apart, and much of the Indigenous culture was lost. Before the British claimed Australia, Indigenous people were here for thousands of years before them. However, during this Frontier War, more than 65,000 Indigenous people lost their lives at the hands of the British and colonisation. This is part of the reason that today we are debating about if we should change the date of Australia Day, as it is considered a day of mourning and sadness for many Aboriginal Australians. We are so blessed to live in a country that has so much diversity, so the question is, should we change the date of Australia Day so that all cultures can feel included and we can celebrate this beautiful country together? Let's reflect on what we have learnt.